We're going to chat a little bit with Alan Percy, and your title, Senior Director of Marketing at Audiocodes.
That's correct. You
Okay,
got it.
got it good. And a couple of things that I was interested in chatting with Alan about is the new Audiocodes SBC 9000 or the Mediant
Right.
9000's SBC.
Right. Yeah, the Mediant 9000 session border controller. Yeah.
Yep. And they also, and this is maybe not super new, but the SBC Wizard,
Right. We'll
and
chat about that. That'd be great.
and maybe a little bit about the Audiocodes 400 series and where that is, where it's going.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, well, yeah, tell me about the Mediant 9000.
Sure. Sure. Well, the Mediant 9000 was recently announced just a couple of weeks ago. It's now generally available. It's the high end of our session border controller space, and specifically, what we were finding in the marketplace is that we were running into contact centers and large enterprises who needed to scale up even further than we've been able to do with our Mediant 2400 and 4000. So we were able to take the software that we've been developing and find a specialized server platform that had the resources necessary to create an appliance that can reach 16,000 sessions in a standard SIP SBC environment. So it's really ideal for a couple of applications. One that I mentioned earlier, the contact center. You can imagine. Contact centers usually have a usage ratio of 1.2 or 1.4 callers per agent. So a large size contact center can easily hit those kinds of densities. And also two very large enterprises that have been moving to SIP trunking. What we've learned is that as they start to consolidate their SIP trunking into a centralized data center, that they can hit pretty sizable densities or looking for room for growth. So it's been a great platform for that.
What was the density that you were able to handle before the 9000? What did the 24?
Yeah,
The
so the Mediant
2400?
4000, which is the model just below the 9000, is on specialized appliance hardware. Also, that could do 4,000 sessions max.
Okay, so you're not necessarily having the number follow the sessions.
No. Yeah, matter of fact, it's a coincidence that the Mediant 4000 could handle 4,000 sessions. It's a point of confusion, admittedly.
hmm And I see, if it looks to me, what kind of hardware are we running? Is it actually standard HP hardware?
It is. Yep. It's an OEM standard hardware, so it's COTS equipment. But it's under an OEM agreement, so we can control exactly what we get. One of the issues with server platforms, you have to be very careful when you do extensive load testing like this, is that you get the same thing every time you order it. And through their OEM program, we're able to get consistent supply of a common hardware platform. But it's for us, it's a little bit of a foray into COTS SBCs, which is relatively new. Almost all of our units before that are on purpose-built hardware.
All right, all right. Some vendors are doing, or maybe back up. Microsoft is kind of talking about PowerShell as the one tool to administrate all your Lync infrastructure, Exchange, the servers, the Lync.
Right.
Is PowerShell anything that Audiocodes, especially in this type of a device, is that something being worked towards at all? Something that
Actually, honestly, I don't know that we are. Maybe that's something I could do a little bit of research on, but I don't at this point have not heard of PowerShell being an area that we've invested in for our management interface. If anything, we've been nudged going the other way from our customers saying, "Hey, we want a centralized management system. This is a network element. This is very much part of their sort of HP OpenView kind of environment," and we're working towards that.
Okay, working kind of the other direction. Anything on the SBC side, and I'm going to probably be asking questions very Lync oriented. Forgive me if I do, but that's kind of my focus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quality of experience, or maybe the other way is, will the SBC 9000? I'm saying that backwards. I believe the 9000 SBC will it inject into Lync monitoring?
Yeah,
Uh,
so yeah, all the SBC offerings have the integration in with SCOM and to be able to provide performance information. In addition to that, too, they also support our session experience manager, which is sort of an upgraded overlay that goes on top of that, that not only monitors the performance, but in addition to that, too, can do simulations. And this is critically important. We talked about at the Lync conference last year about doing network assessments and having SBCs be an integral part of doing a network assessment pre-rollout, but also during expansion or other maintenance that might happen is critical, and to help isolate voice quality issues.
okay, so you're kind of saying not necessarily reporting it into Lync monitoring server, but having a separate the SEC system that can do maybe some things that Lync can't do, like network assessments,
Yeah, exactly,
using the
exactly.
actual equipment instead of another maybe appliance.
Exactly. Yeah, one of the areas, a few years ago, we got involved in a couple of service provider projects where when they started to have voice quality problems, they would send out a probe, and it would be, a small little box that would be plugged in at the customer site. And of course, just getting that plugged in sometimes required a truck roll, which was obviously
Hmm.
quite expensive. So the light bulb came on. It's like, wait a second here. There's nothing that probe is doing that half of our gateways or SBCs can't do. So why don't we just embed that function into the SBC or the gateway, and then provide a mechanism to remotely turn it on or turn it off and to do reports.
Hmm. Hmm. Gotcha. How much of maybe I'm a little diverting over to the SEC. What infrastructure is required to get that going? So let's say I have a Mediant, say 3,000 or 4,000 currently, and want to get that SEC up and going. Is there
Yeah,
some minimum? There's probably licensing, I suppose.
yeah. So our Session Experience Manager is a licensed software package that it's a network management software application that would run on I don't know, sort of a NOC PC or platform, and be able to remotely probe and tell the other systems, by the way, we want you to do this, this, and this, and for it to be able to create the simulation and load. It's typically bundled with a professional services offering from our professional services team that would study your network. Matter of fact, we got some great case studies where we were able to sit down with an end customer and look at their network topology and come up with potential choke points, based on that, coming up with some profiles to provide some simulated network traffic. That then, through running that traffic, we're able to do an analysis on how well that network would be able to handle that kind of load.
Hmm. Hmm. Good, good. What would you say on the Mediant 9000 SBC? How is it unique among uh, SBCs? What would you say is
Sure.
kind of a compelling piece of the Mediant 9000?
Well, there's a couple real unique aspects of it. First of all, a lot of SBCs that are at that density are really designed to be service provider SBCs, and service providers have very, very different needs than enterprises do. Service providers, first of all, they tend to offer one flavor to the customers, and this is what makes them profitable. They offer vanilla, and vanilla is what they offer, and therefore the SBC is designed around a single offering from the service provider to the end customer. Enterprises have very different needs. Enterprises have equipment from different versions. They have different brands of equipment that have come from different acquisitions potentially, or different CIOs or IT directors have made selections over the years. So they have very dishomogenized environments. They're very diverse vendors, and they have to integrate these systems together. And when we approached the session border controller market initially, that was the first thing we said. We recognized right away that actually the interoperability and to be able to do SIP normalization is a key feature that needs to be in the SBC, more so than security. So we were able to leverage some of the our SIP experience from our media gateways, and build an SBC that's very tunable when it comes to the SIP manipulation, header manipulation, or mediation. So be able to deliver that initially. So we came out with those enterprise session border controllers, which have caught on the market because of those issues. And now we're able to scale up with that software load. And that's where the Mediant 9000 has a heritage of coming up from the enterprise session border controller market with those SIP mediation features built right in. Whereas other SBCs at that scale typically have come down from the service provider space and have very different feature sets. So that's one of them. The second thing is, of course, it's based on the same software that's used all the way down to our smallest gateways or smallest SBCs. So as a manager or administrator, as soon as they log in, they would recognize those configuration screens. They would recognize how to set up, SIP trunk groups or how to set up call routing rules, those kinds of things. It's common across the entire platform. So that gives us the administrator a benefit of less to learn, but most importantly, it lets us grandfather many of the certifications. So we're able to go to vendors like Microsoft and say, hey, we have a higher density version of that same software we've already certified with you, and get grandfathered instantly, which makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Good point. The Mediant 9000 SBC, is that a Lync certified device?
So we're just trying to finish up that paperwork with Microsoft, but yes, it's grandfathered as part of our SBC offering.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Okay. So kind of the unique things is that it really enterprise focused versus coming down from service provider, and familiarity. People are already using all kinds of the MP devices and the Mediants and the Yep.
Okay. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, anything more you want to say on the 9000?
No, that's in a nutshell. It's a unique offering for us in a sense of density, but I'll just also want to point out too, it is also available in a software-only configuration. Then it's not called the Mediant 9000; it's just called our software SBC, which can either be run in standalone or it can be run in a virtualized environment, and that's really a powerful tool for those cloud-based implementations where they're trying to run off COTS servers in a cloud environment.
Mm-hmm. And the UI, I presume, is identical.
Yeah, it's essentially the same software load. It's virtualized versus standalone is a little bit different load, but nonetheless, it's from a functional standpoint and management, it's identical.
Good. Okay, then moving to the SBC Wizard Tool.
Sure.
Is that something I just missed? Is that pretty new? Or?
Yeah, it's pretty new. It's a new offering, and one of the it comes from it's one of these interesting things that it's the product of the complexity that we just talked about. The capabilities of the power of the SBC. Sometimes we run into applications where the IT manager is just maybe a little in over their head.
Yeah.
So we created this configuration wizard, and it allows some very straightforward. For example, you can pick a SIP trunking service provider, and if we know the profile of that provider, we can instantly overlay that kind of settings into the SIP configuration very quickly and easily, and it dramatically simplifies the configuration process for a lot of customers. And on another area too, even for advanced applications, it gets a designer sort of a head start, gets them sort of a base configuration, then they can start tweaking it manually from that point going forward. So we're real excited about it. We hope it makes things a lot easier for some of our newer customers.
Mm-hmm. And does it have any Lync pieces in it? Is it Lync specific? I'll admit I did not run through it, other than I think I quickly looked at the video. But
yeah, so it has some I'll call it profiles for Lync, but it's designed for a much broader audience.
Okay.
The full SBC market.
Gotcha. And that's a tool I suppose is included with. It's not an extra licensing piece.
Yeah, at this point we're offering it as an add-on.
Okay, so it would be something you would pay extra for to use with. Am I thinking?
It depends on the customer. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Not quite that simple.
Yeah, not quite that simple. Yeah.
And if I'm thinking right, it works across a wide variety of medians.
Correct. It's designed again, to configure these SBCs across the entire across the entire portfolio. So it's not platform specific.
So the whole way down, Mediant 800 MSBG. Is there any that it does not support, that are not supported?
Not that I know of at this point. It's being positioned across the entire product portfolio.
Okay. And let's say, for example, it is a small business and they have 3 branches and they're putting, let's say, what is it? What would we put in down that line? Maybe a Mediant 1000.
Right, right.
Yeah,
That's really the sweet spot for it. And we're imagining that that's a typical kind of implementation where you're probably not going to have a super experienced technician doing the install.
Gotcha.
That would be a good fit.
Yeah, well, I think a tool will help for implementation. That looks interesting to me. Okay. And then the last thing that I have on my list, you might have something after we're done here, the Audiocodes 400 is one that I've been watching. I have it right here, and I'm
there it is.
Very
I recognize that.
Yeah, very eager to work with it on Lync. I think you have something coming down the pike, firmware-wise.
Yeah, matter of fact, we do. We have the new software ready for it. So, matter of fact, I got to get you a copy of that new software. It's ready for general consumption.
Great.
Matter of fact, we're going to have those phones at the Lync conference, all of them. And one of the nice additions to that is we'll be offering customers who are looking to evaluate the phones an opportunity to go online and complete a survey form and be able to order a phone device for their own internal evaluation. So watch for that at the Lync conference. If your listeners or watchers are going to be at the event, definitely stop by the booth and pick up one of those cards.
Mm-hmm. Good. So we do have Lync. So previously we had firmware for, and the 420, the Audiocodes 420 HT is Lync qualified.
Correct.
Am I saying that right? And there is Lync firmware, and not to confuse people, we were talking about the Audiocodes 440 HD.
Right.
That the firmware is apparently just released, and we will be able to get a
Lync version of the phone.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what is there any new functionality? I mean, this is apparently I didn't see the firmware yet. So what does this firmware bring? Is there anything?
Yeah. So two unique features. First of all, the 440, as you know, it's got the buddy list built right into the phone.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yep. And the other thing is the better together over IP is something we've introduced with those phones, and that is a huge feature that we think most users are going to be looking for.
Okay. So, and is better together in the firmware that's just came out?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that is a big jump then. All right. Yeah. As far as the Audiocodes 400 series, anything looking forward that you can talk about? So we have.
Yeah, so one of the nifty things that we've been doing with the 400 series phones too is we added the Opus codec, and the Opus codec is the codec that's used in WebRTC. Mm-hmm. Now, Microsoft obviously isn't talking a lot about WebRTC, but some of the other solutions that are out there are eagerly pushing towards WebRTC. We could see contact center applications, and we're seeing hosted voice applications. Again, outside the Lync environment, to look really hard at WebRTC, and what they want to be able to do is they want to be able to have a device that can sit on an application and work in a transcode-free environment. In other words, support the Opus codec. Mm-hmm. And we were actually able to demonstrate that last year at the WebRTC event in Santa Clara. And we also just showed it last week at IT Expo in Miami, live demonstrations of making Opus calls, and was surprised to see people's faces. A lot of them had never heard an HD call before, and their face really lit up once they heard the voice quality. So it was a great experience.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and I think Microsoft's position on WebRTC from last Lync conference, or it might have been a conference since then, as soon as something is officially ratified with WebRTC, they're going to implement something related to meetings. I think that was the communication that Eric Burney might have said last, I forget when it was. But
well, and I think that there's a strong desire in the marketplace to have a conference access, to link conference access via WebRTC, even if it requires a software gateway and some transcoding, whatever it takes. I think that there's a strong desire for that. So it wouldn't surprise me. This is pure speculation on my part. It wouldn't surprise me that's the first place that you see WebRTC enabled is in that conferencing feature set.
Yeah, and really, it's kind of a natural fit as well. But
exactly.
I think they're waiting until there's an official, something official. But yeah, okay. Well, I think we covered the 9000. I didn't want to make this take much more. We're at 20 minutes already, so we covered the 9000. I think the new SBC Wizard and the Audiocodes phone. So I think that's all, unless there's anything else you had.
No, I just, Matt, I realize you're probably looking forward to thawing out down in Las Vegas, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, we need a thaw out. We just had there's 8 inches of snow behind that window that's the shutter is over. We're getting snowed out. So yeah, I'm planning on being at the Lync conference, and we'll see Audiocodes there as well.
We'll see you then.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right, thanks.